we get into the Q&A stuff, if any of the three of you, Tom, Nicole, Paul, if any of you need to leave, just interrupt me at any time if you have something. Okay, so how do we use all these natural laws to become more effective in coaching everyone in our lives? And so you can see right here different aspects of when to teach. So everybody enjoys feeling good and warm, and so people like the amiable. So when somebody makes a dimensional jump, so when my 7-year-old grandson, when he stays focused, man, I'm cheering him up. I'm giving, because he loves attention. Just absolutely loves it. Next is the teacher. Head learning, think we are smart, feels good intellectually. So these, so they say, I'm not saying there's any truth to it. I'm just saying, they say there's a saying out there. Why is there a saying? I don't know. There's some level of truth. If you can't do it, teach it. Okay. The next level is a coach. Take action, engage, do, fail, feel bad, humble, feel good physically. Like it's just going to be hard. And then level 4 is succeed at that dimension, produce desired results, mastered 5 H's, disciplined people, thinker, discipline in taking action, doing, that's from the good to great, feels great. Here's the dimensional gap. You can't see it here. But when you zoom in underneath a microscope, you can see that there's a gap here. And you're either going to go up or you're going to go down. Well, why do you go up and why do you go down? So often the expressive and the analytic will make a leap because they don't tend to have the fears that the analytic and amiable do. So the analytic and amiable, each one of them have fears, which is the pain quadrant test. So the analytic fears that something's not right. They're going to look bad. They have huge ego. The driver, they feel things are going to be out of control and something's going to crash. So this is the advantage of being the age of Tom and myself. It's like, well, none of your kids died, none of your grandkids, hey, okay, I made it through, married, okay. So now I might be able to take some risks that I wasn't able to take when I had 7 kids at home. Like if people thought I was crazy then, wait until I'm now. But they fear being out of control. The expressive person fears boring or not fun, not recognizing that there's tremendous excitement in that. The amiable, they fear conflict. So what moves us forward is faith, see, understand, do, humility, great stewardship, contentment, self-discipline, perspective, strong life vision. What holds us back is fear, do not see, lack understanding, do not do, pride, poor stewardship, lusty eyes, lust of flesh, low morale, lukewarm. And so if we maintain all the things we had in moving up, in theory, we would never need to move down. Do not lose the best things we have going up, and you won't go down. Like, what? Like, what does that mean? Like, I've been blessed to discover this stuff. I wake up in the morning, and it's all there. It's like, oh, my gracious. Or I observe my kids, or now my grandkids. So there's all kinds of cool stuff. So what does our life vision have to do with anything? So when I was 8 years old, I was at Camp Fairwood, out by the canteen late at night, and I don't know, I was raised very conservative Baptist, so I jokingly say God's never talked to me or spoken to me in a dream, because if he did, I wouldn't believe him, because that's kind of how I was taught. But I don't know. God just said to me, he's like, Mark, you're an average to below average kid. I remember. It was like, you're an average to below average kid. He told me that when I was 8. I knew that when I was 8. I was self-aware and said, your older brother, Mark, man, is he smart in school. And he's really athletic. And you're average to below average. And I heard, I sensed, God said to me, Mark, if you're a good steward with what I give you, you'll touch the whole world. So my life vision given to me at the age of 8, I didn't work for it, it was just there, just given to me, was to touch every single person in the world, one person at a time, make a huge difference in every aspect of their life in a really fun and exciting way. And yep, it's 7.4 billion people. So I've been working on that for 47 years. So for me, that's what drives me every day. It's like nuclear power. When I'm tired, when I'm sore, getting older, when things don't work out with my kids, or their marriage or my grandkids, when I'm discouraged and frustrated, when my marriage after 35 years is like, really, I'm still having problems with this thing? Like, man, it should be fixed by now. Like, whatever's facing me in life, my life vision is like nuclear energy for me that keeps me going. Questions? Thoughts? Okay. So what does learning how to see the truth have to do with being awakened or taking ownership or work or care? It has everything to do with it. What are the 5 H's? Hope, head, heart, hands, helping other people. What are the 7 T's to stewardship? Time, talent, treasure, trust, truth, temple, and thought. If we're good stewards with our 7 T's, then Tom says you can't give something to somebody else that you first don't have. If you have fear, well, then other people around you are going to have fear. If you're not a good steward with the 7 T's, time, talent, so there's a natural law. If you're a good steward with time, you get more time. I have abundance of time. I mean, even with my 4 grandkids, like I'm now taking 2 to 6 hours a day with them, and I'm getting more work done when I'm taking 2 to 6 hours with them. Why? Because it's time, talents, treasure, trust, truth, temple, and thought. So when we're good stewards with the 7 T's, we get more of everything. It's natural laws. It's like the law of gravity. So what do these and other 500 plus natural laws have to do with anything, or really everything in our life? Well, a lot. How do we overcome resistance, ours and others, when we and others don't even realize we are resisting? Like, that's the craziest thing. Like, my grandkids are resisting Grandpa's wisdom. It's like, well, that's not going to go so well for them. It's just not. But because they're not my kids, I don't have to force it. I can just have fun with them. So we're having fun cleaning up leaves yesterday. We joke about stuff. So what is faith, and why is it so very powerful? So I don't really share a lot, spiritual, unless people ask it. But, I've really been thinking a lot for the last, 9 months, where it talks about, without faith, it's impossible to please God. Like, what does that mean? Like, it's like, wow. And what about the foxhole and the Mach 1 principle? And what does that have to do with the 3 major worldviews? Like everything. Like, everything's interconnected. Somebody please say something.
A lot to digest. Yeah, are you sure we're not in quantum everything right now?
Well, that's what we're building up for, right? Next week, or next lesson, rather. Next lesson is the quantum world.
Well, it feels like we're in it right now.
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, we are. And so, like, it's curiosity. Like curiosity, like when I got an extra 20, when I said yes to everything 9 years ago, I started saying yes to everything. And again, imagine you're, it might have been earlier than that. Yeah, mid-40s probably. Early 40s, mid-40s, 7 kids, 4 teenagers, business, international speaker. I got a lot going. And I'm like, you got to do something, Mark, you've never done before, because you're going to lose opportunities, which is going to threaten your life vision. So I decided to say yes to everything. That makes no sense at all. I mean, my value system in life is, number 1, I seek my personal relationship with God. Number 2 is my relationship with my wife of 35 years. Number 3 is going to be my, 7 kids and 5 grandkids, 3 sons-in-law, daughter-in-law. It's going to be family. Number 4 is going to be providing for my family. Now it's like, it's a lot easier now. Like, I can take a lot more risk now than when I had 7 kids at home. I don't have any of them at home anymore. Like, this is really cool. So providing for my family, my career, my economic engine, and number 5 is going to be the community. So it's pretty easy to see success in any one of those 5 areas, but true success in life is seeing success in everything. And your values can be different from mine. That's fine. Like, it's whatever yours is, but are we going to see success in all 5 areas? I expect that I will.
So, Mark, will you explain by definition what faith means in these models?
I don't know.
So you have, okay.
I mean, I know that fear, okay, equals like resistance. So what's the opposite of, fear? I think it's faith. It's like it's in the unknown. It's something bigger than us. So what we do is our whole life we try to get where we don't have to have any faith. Like we don't want to take risks. We don't want to, we don't want to go bankrupt. We don't want to lose our house. Not saying that's, it's good to have proper fear of proper things. I mean, if you're in the forest, with a bear, you don't have fear, that's not going to go so well. I mean, 97% of businesses go out of business within the first 7 years. It's good to have a bit of fear or awareness, maybe. And so, yeah, let's take a look at this. So, see, dimensional thinking, getting ourselves to learn to think differently, which is what this lesson is about, is awakening. It requires ownership on ours and other people's part. It takes work, hard work, smart work, and it takes care. Like the amount of work I'm doing on care now is massive. It's just massive. The models that we've come up with, so I've been looking for how do you measure dimensions. In business, it's easy because it's financial. But in life, it's hard. How do I measure if my wife and I are at a higher dimension in our marriage? Or my kids and I? And I've been working on that for, 15 years. Finally had a breakthrough when I started. And so 2020, so, depending on when you're going through this lesson, so 2020 is the year of caring. See, this course isn't about the end with lessons 6 and 7, but it's about to begin. See, this is what people don't understand. I don't know why they don't understand it. To me, it seems really, really simple. It's like the more you know, the more you know you don't know. But the question is like this is the thing that I think's connected Tom and I for, 15 years, whatever it's been, is Tom is in his early 70s, I'm mid-50s, and as long as I've known Tom, it's never changed. He always wants more. He wants to learn more. He wants to understand more. He wants to do more. He wants more in life. And I knew that the first time that I talked to him, and so I would have been, in my early 40s, and we talked for the very first time, and I said, Tom, what's, your life vision? He said, one of my aspects of my life vision is to change how real estate's done around the world. And immediately I said, oh my gracious, that's so awesome. I want to be a part of that vision. Like that fits into my life vision. Tom said, Mark, what's your life vision? I said, Tom, is to touch every single person in the world, one person at a time, make a huge difference in every aspect of their life in a really fun and exciting way. Actually, I might not have had that last piece on there. I don't think I did. Until I started hanging around Tom, and then I started saying, man, this can be fun. Like, fun's really important. I got to have fun. And he didn't even bat an eye. First time he met, he says, you're going to do it. I said, really? Like my own parents, my 3 brothers, they don't think so much. My 2 sisters, not very many people in the world think that somebody can reach 7.4 billion people. Tom's like, yeah, you're going to do it. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I said, how do you know? He says, I just do. I can feel it in your voice, your energy. You're going to do it. I'm like, wow. Okay. So Tom believed in my life vision in a way even more than I did. Like he came along at a really key point in my life, really tough time in my life. I mean, I could have lost my marriage at that time. I could have lost my business. I mean, it was a really, really tough time, and Tom believed in my life vision. So this is what Psychology of People is all about. It's about an awakening, like an awareness of how amazing each one of us are. People don't know that, and that's a shame. I mean, that's a real shame. People don't know how amazing they are. And until they become awakened to how amazing they are, they're not going to really, truly help other people to be awakened. And then people don't take ownership so well. Like, it's just part of the human condition to blame somebody else for something. And so that has to be taught. So I'm working really hard with my 5 grandkids, soon to be 6. Like, I'm trying to put in a system so all grandkids, like, there's some that don't have grandfathers. It's like, so there's the grandpa magic, couch, generate, like, it's all of these things I want to teach my grandkids, but not just my grandkids. I want to teach every grandchild on the planet these things, because what a wonderful gift to give them. And then work. Like my mom said, Mark, you're going to be working your whole life. I didn't understand that at the time. She said, you better learn how to make it fun. Oh, what a wonderful gift my mom gave me. Like, wow. And then care, I'm just learning about that. Like, I'm just at a deep, like the science of it. What's the intricacies of it? How do you drill down into it? And that's quantum thinking that leads into the boss system, which is the economic engine. So we are doing things we're passionate about, impacting people, which comes back down into asking questions, listening, see, intentions, think, capability, internalization, do. I mean, all of this is connected in together. And this is why I want to do community with all of you. Because you guys are going to help me see things. This whole thing was triggered, by Tom when I said, why do people say they understand when they don't? And Tom said, oh, they don't internalize it. Like it's flippant. Like it's like he's a child. Like he just knew the answer. And I'm like, oh, that's the answer. That's amazing. Like, oh, I could feel it. I could feel the energy. I knew he was right. I'm like, well, Tom, how do you get people to internalize? He's like, I don't know. So he uses his gifts to see, and I use his gifts to see things that I couldn't see. Maybe it's his personality. Maybe it's God-given gifts. Maybe it's his, decades of experience in this life. I don't know what it is, why he has the gifts that he does. Everyone has some gifts. And so how do we tap in? And so my gift is to take things that tend to be pretty complex and break them down into something simple. So my grandkids, so the next generation, so the 7.5 billion people on the planet can have the benefit of what I had with my mom and dad and my grandmother and grandfather and the legacy that they left me. That I can have the gift that Tom has given me, and I can share that with 7.4 plus billion people, and that Paul and Nicole, and that really anyone who touches my life. So it's really, I don't know, it's just mind-numbing. So again, connect with your art mentor and what you learned. Like, this is not brain surgery. You have 10,080 minutes in a week. And people don't have 8 minutes to connect with, 4 minutes to connect with your art mentor, and then, 4 to 8 minutes to connect with your 2 art buddies. It's not that hard. Like, it's just not that hard, but we make it hard. We say, we're really busy. Well, that tells the brain we don't have any time to do anything new. Like, I can't do anything new. And so we get stuck in what's called the dimensional gap. So when we look at the quantum thinking, which is what we're going to go into next, in the quantum, how do you build quantum systems? How do you apply this to business and recruiting? We need to become unstuck from the gap we are in to make a dimensional jump. How do we onboard people? We need to become unstuck from the gap we are in to make a dimensional jump. Retention, we need to become unstuck from the gap we're in making the dimensional jump. We're stuck in a gap. So that takes some work in a journal. Now, if this isn't your gift, if you steward other people's gifts, they'll give you more. So this is a journal. This is some of the journal entries that I've been blessed to make. So it's like, How do you go ahead and how do you put this stuff together? Like, how do you connect it together to impact the world to achieve, each one of our life vision? So dimensional thinking, connecting with people, we need to understand how to overcome conflict. This came from the Jerusalem Project, where we had a bunch of teenage kids from Israel, Palestine, and the Lakota Indian Reservation. 4 steps to conflict resolution. There's a science behind it. We need to see and then overcome blindness, as Pastor James McDonald, shares. And then we need to learn to think differently. Like Einstein said, you can never solve a problem on the level it was created. Like all of these pieces, like it's the universe. Like it's all interconnected together. I don't know. This stuff is just the coolest stuff. And then we need to learn to think how others think and how our belief system impacts how we see everything in every area of our life. To develop others, we need to learn to see where one dimension starts and another stops. Like, what? And then we need to internalize all of that. And then we need to go ahead and, we need to first learn. We first need to learn. Then we need to do. And then we need to internalize. So the life balance wheel. Like I had seen this before, Tom, but there was something magical about how Tom communicated this that it's like, wait a minute. I thought I understood it, but I don't. When we internalize something, it becomes a reflex. We have to internalize life balance, rings of influence, and how to integrate natural laws. We need to integrate all of this stuff. Well, first we have to have knowledge of it. Then we have to start doing it. The more we do, the more humble we become, because it doesn't work so well. I mean, we can teach all day, and if we teach, people come up and say, "Oh, you're so smart." Yeah, no, not so much. I mean, when I'm doing stuff with my kids or my grandkids, I'm like, my gracious, I'm a pathetic father. I'm a pathetic grandfather. I got to step up my game. I got to internalize. I got to ask better questions. I got to see things that I'm not seeing now. I need to understand and think in a different way. So how do we internalize and interconnect with people, and how do we develop a system to do that without taking any of our time and energy or any of the 7 T's to stewardship? Like, what? That's the only way the legacy is going to happen in our lives, right? I mean, if we have to do something, there is no legacy. Because at some point, Tom says we're on our back 9. Like, okay. So we have to internalize all of this. Well, and then there's a little bit more, right? Like, I don't know. This stuff it just intrigues me. So there's 65,536 possible combinations for the DNA for people. There's 5 boxes, 30 boxes, an infinite number of sub-boxes in the 530 grid. The DNA for business, there's 530 or over 500 natural laws in the DNA for life. So to see, this is a journey. It's not a destination.
Hey, Mark, will you excuse me for a minute? I'm going to have to take my seizure medicine again, because you can't put this stuff up unannounced. You got to give me, hey, I'm going to put up my napkin models. Okay, I'm okay now.
And this is only 10%. I mean, this is just a fraction. Like, it's like the world is such an exciting place. Like, oh my gracious, what connections can we make together? Like, how do we go ahead and bring, all of this? So it's the internalization model of Tom, he spoke it into existence. Like, he just spoke it into existence. It's like, why, Tom? And I've been struggling with it for, 7 years. Like, Tom, people say they understand what I'm saying. They don't. But I can't tell them that, because then it ticks them off, or they think I'm arrogant, or they think I'm prideful. They think something, which is not the case. I just am frustrated, because why don't they see what I see? And he's like, oh, they're not internalizing it. Okay, Tom, why not? I don't know. So then that night I go to sleep, and all of a sudden I wake up the next morning and I have this. Like, oh, that makes sense. It's all interconnected. and that's the psychology of people. Like easy peasy. Like this, it's just not hard.
Two things for you, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go back to internalization model. I think, and that's for me, and I'm coming onto this because absolutely, and I think it's still a disconnect. What you have to internalize, and I don't remember her name, Jill or somebody. So the story part will not leave my brain. Is there a way to weave that into internalization? And maybe I'm oversimplifying, but I am trying to learn to take simple things and make them simple. And it really, for me, it's story relating a concept, a story of the concept, so it clicks for me.
And I shared this about my two nieces who I was co-authoring a book, Relationships for a Lifetime, right? And they gave me the secret to motivation, and it was stories. I didn't share that story with you guys. So I don't know what it was, probably 10 years ago. It's been 10 years. I was meeting every Saturday with my two nieces who were, so it's Olivia and Brienne, and they were 5 and 7. And Jim Rohn had just passed away. And Peter Schmidt, who's an amputee, great guy, unbelievable motivational speaker. The guy's got an amazing story. And he said, we were working on his team, and he said, Mark, can you help me understand how to motivate my team? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And he says, well, Jim Rohn says he doesn't know how to motivate people. He only knows how to find motivated people. Hello? Like, if Jim Rohn doesn't know how to motivate people, how am I supposed to? But again, I'm like a child. Well, who cares? It's Jim Rohn. Like, he doesn't know everything. Like, I'll figure this out. So I asked, I've been invited to the White House. I know a lot of really smart people, like big, highly educated, really successful. I started asking everybody, what's the secret to motivation? And people give me answers, but they're no better than Jim Rohn's. So I asked the girls, I said, hey, girls, Uncle Mark's really struggling with, again, 5 and 7 years old. And I say, hey, girls, Uncle Mark's struggling with, internalization. I was wondering, Jim Rohn, you don't know him, but he's like the father of all motivational speakers. The guy's a genius. He says, I don't know how to motivate people, so I find motivated people. Oh, I said to Peter Schmidt, I said, man, I wish he was alive because I have 2 questions for him. He's like, what are the 2 questions? I said, what if one of those unmotivated people are your own children? Like, you can't just find another one. And I said, what if your life vision is so big there's not enough motivated people on the planet to achieve it? Like, I got to figure this out. So at the time, still, sometimes I think my kids are not the most motivated people on the planet. So I'm like I love my kids like crazy. And so I went out on a mission, and I asked all these people. So anyways, I said, you girls don't know Jim Rohn, but he's the father of all motivation. He says he doesn't know how to motivate people. I barely got it out of my mouth. Brienne, the 7-year-old, says, well, Uncle Mark, this is what you were talking about before, Paul. So I can't figure out how to motivate people. Nobody. Jim Rohn says he doesn't know how to motivate people. So Brienne, bless her heart, she says, well, Uncle Mark, like I'm an idiot, like I was. And she's like, the way they motivate us in Girl Scouts is to go ahead and tell us stories. To motivate us to sell cookies in Girl Scouts is they tell us stories. I'm like blown away. I'm like, that is insane. Like, first, a 7-year-old needed to know what the word motivation meant. Then she had to go through her little brain and find an example of when she was motivated. Then she had to go ahead and sort through how they did it. And it was instant for her. It was just a reflex. It's like, you gotta be kidding. How in the world did she do that? Like, that's insane. The truth is, Jim Rohn did know how to motivate people. He didn't know. He was unconsciously competent. You tell stories. He's like a master storyteller. He knew how to motivate people, but he didn't know the science behind it. Brienne, a 7-year-old, she understood the science.
You're right. His teachings were all stories.
All stories. Like all stories. Like, he must not have had kids like mine. Like, you know, they were all stories. It's like, so I never know when one of these, so this, you know, internalization, the goosebump moment, the epiphanies, it's like, oh my gracious, like she just gave me the secret. Like, and then Mary, I was coaching her on Action Vision, and she says, Mark, you know, so her husband had a really good job. She was trying to start her own company. She was on Action Vision, and so she had 3 kids. She was homeschooling, and she said, Mark, you know, I struggle with motivation. Can you give me, you know, can you help me understand it? And I said, just reflex-wise, I didn't even think about it, never said it, never read it, never understood. I said, Mary, do you understand the advantage of not being motivated? And she's like, no. What's the advantage? I said, it builds self-discipline muscles. When I said it, I gave myself goosebumps. I'm like, that's genius, Mark. Like, where did that come from? Like, I have no idea where it came from. It was just there. And so most people think I'm really motivated. I'm not. I'm an international speaker and author, and I don't like to speak or write. It's just discipline. What they're seeing is a machine of discipline.
Will you restate that statement? The discipline statement gives you a chance to...
It gives, when you're not motivated, it's awesome, it's exciting, because it gives you the chance to develop your self-discipline muscles.
I remember you saying that to Janae.
Yeah.
When she said, how do I get motivated?
Right. Yep. All right. So again, it all comes back down. One properly designed, engineered boss system has the ability to cover every area, any group of people we desire to impact. So Tom and Paul and Mark, and we're trying to get Nicole to go to San Antonio to mastermind seminars. And I'm working on how to get my 7-year-old grandson to go, Daniel. I mean, his mom homeschools him, so it should be fairly easy. But I'm still working on that. It's like, okay, and she'd be fine with it. But I don't know. It's just all of this stuff is so cool. So our boss, it's the engine that runs our business, our lives. We earn the money we earn, work the hours we work, have the stress life balance we do or don't have due to our boss, our engine. And it's all connected in together. Like everything's interconnected all the way through. Tom, you're very quiet. I love when you get quiet because there's always something going on in your head. What's going on in your head?
Just absorbing the information you've laid out. Even though I've seen a lot of it, it's. I guess I'm starting to internalize it.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, it is.
Like when you look at what's happening in the world around us, like we need, it's like progressional degeneration. I don't have a model for that one, but progressional degeneration is what I've observed in generation, from one generation to the next, is
right.
My kids have picked up my weaknesses. And if that wasn't bad enough, they don't have the strengths that I have, because the strengths came from hurt and pain in my life that I've sought to protect them from. So they have my weaknesses. They don't have my strengths that help me to overcome my weaknesses, and then they have their own weaknesses. Like, it's amazing that we're even on the planet. So everybody's thinking we're evolving up. I would say, yeah, I think there's a lot of evidence we're evolving down. And so
I think in general that's the way, but I mean, I totally understand what you're saying about your kids, because I think mine are the same way. But what I've also started to see is that they start to, when they start to see the things and the weaknesses that I had, or the strengths that I had, it tends to come back because they were part of that process, even though at the time they didn't really realize that. And so I think that thank God we have this brain we have that allows you to reflect back, or to all of a sudden get jarred back to something that's happened in the past, to bring you forward to the future and move you into the next dimension.
So this gives me hope. Tom's kids are a little bit, they're 10 plus years older than mine. And so I'm starting to see it in my older children, like my 3 older children. It's starting to go, I can see it starting to kick in. I'm like, yes! Sorry, go ahead.
And they see, well, not only can they reflect and see what we went through, or at least part of what we went through, but what the world's a different place for them now.
Right.
So they're seeing it through different sets of eyes, and I don't know. I have a lot of faith in a lot of things, and one of them is, I think, because I look back to the 60s and what was going on then, and thinking, oh my God, the world probably is going to come to an end. But yet, we kind of grew up and understood that that's just the way things work. And eventually you start to see the reality of what's really going on. And you adjust most people, not everybody, most people adjust themselves to that changing environment and make the best of what they can out of that, I think. And I think our kids will do the same thing, and I think their kids will do the exact same thing, too.
I hope so. I hope so. You can see some groups of people don't seem to ever recover. And, some groups of people get wiped out.
Yeah, no, and I think that's just part of the process.
Huh.
And some people are afraid to improve themselves.
Right.
Why? I don't know. But, and this is going to sound real harsh, I can't worry about those folks. I can only worry about the people that I can have some influence on and help understand what's going on and how to better the lives that they have. And by doing that, I think we help everybody. And there are going to be some people that are just not going to be there. Feel sorry for them, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I'm not talking about people who have mental disorders or things of that sort. We need to take care of those folks. I'm just talking about the people who think they have that, and they're using that as a roadblock to not have to achieve anything or to better their lives, and they're always got their hands out.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, question for you.
Yep.
So maybe this is a quantum question. So there's a group of people primarily identified as they have a fear of failure. That in itself is motivational at times to get them to try to achieve. How would you treat somebody who has fear?
Because they've never failed, probably.
They do, or they don't do enough because of the fear that if I throw myself out there, I'm going to fail.
Did you hear the depth of what Tom said, though, Paul?
Yes. But that didn't get to the question, because the question is they do. Oh, I have to think about that for a minute.
Thank you,
Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, then, Tom, how would you handle the people that have a fear of succeeding? Because that's also a thing.
You go succeed. Try something small. Like, get up in the morning and go for a walk.
Okay.
Or it's not like they have to whip the world or they have to create a business that's successful. You know, what aren't you doing today on a daily basis? Get up and do that one day and do it
Tom,
the second day.
Mark this in your calendar. Tom's first Paul's goosebump moment came from Tom today. Dear diary. Wow.
See, I was thinking
cool.
The answer for both was the same. So why are people afraid of failure? Because they haven't failed. No, I failed. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. No, you have not failed. Trust me, if you failed, you wouldn't be afraid of it. Yeah. Well, why haven't you? Why do you have a fear of success? Because you've never succeeded. What do you mean? I've succeeded? No, you haven't. Because if you've succeeded, if you've succeeded, then you wouldn't have a fear of success.
No, but I love that baby step.
Yeah.
On the block. Yeah, you did it. That is success. Wow. Woohoo! And Mark, the reason that I was asking about the faith thing.
Yes.
I think we go back. I think that was the turning point in my life, and I don't know what, by definition, what that faith was, but when I stopped arguing with you, and I took my leap of faith that maybe I don't know as much as I think I know. It's all of the stuff that we're talking about now. My understanding of the concept has, I think, magnified by, a billion, just the understanding of how it all works. And that's when the magic happened for me, is when I stopped trying to swim against the current and just let the current take me where it's going to take me. I'll land on my feet. Don't know where, don't know when. And what a fun ride it's going to be.
And that's why most people drown when they find themselves in strong currents. If they would relax, let the current take them out somewhere to calmer waters and then be able to swim back.
Oh, my God. 2 goosebump moments. Come on, Tom. Now you're getting crazy. And I'm being sincere. I mean, this is my next video right here, guys. I love this.
See, and it's just in a way, it's so simple.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it's so simple. It's like, oh my gracious, that's amazing. And so, next lesson is going to be building quantum systems, so you can see, like, this is a lesson, this is a course for everybody. It contains things about every single industry, every single gender, every single age, every single ethnic group, everything. Like, everyone can benefit from this. And so excited to do the next lesson. And then next step, it's turning learning into earning. And that's really, how do you take what you're passionate about and create an economic engine? So again, if you have any questions, definitely connect with your art mentor. Share again what you're learning, the goosebump moments, the epiphanies, like, wow, that was really cool, with your 2 art buddies. As you share with them, you're going to learn yourself. And then step 3, I'm just saying, trust me, go to turn learning into earning, because it's amazing. If you have any other questions, or your art mentor isn't able to help you, connect with other people in your art group, or you can call toll-free, 888-230-2300. That's 888-230-2300. Or if you're calling in outside the U.S., you can call the U.S.-based number of 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. God bless and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.